Hi, folks, and welcome back to the Star Wars Library, where Star Wars is in print. And we are now still in 1986, and we are now at the end, at least in our chronology, the end of the Marvel Star Wars comic book series. What we started going through back in 2019, here we are, 2021, finishing it. It's been a heck of a ride. And unfortunately, I don't really like it. I don't want to be that Mr. Negative because I've been a huge, or I guess maybe not huge, but definitely a supporter of the Marvel series. I know sometimes people will downplay it a little bit in comparison to a lot of the other things, and I'm not saying that it's the best, but I do think there is a lot of good in the Marvel series that I think people don't give it enough credit for. But let's go ahead and get this over with. So, issue 107, folks. The final one in the initial run. It's called All Together Now, which is a Beatles song. I really like the Beatles. Anyways, this is the cover here, which is also the cover of our trade paperback, Volume 7 of A Long Time Ago. This one's called Far, Far Away. This is the last time I'm going to say that in this show. Jeez. But anyways, so All Together Now. Before I go any further, this is where basically I just checked out. I'm done with the art. I'm just done with it. First page, I was just done when I initially read this. This is an 80s action hero. No, actually it's Luke Skywalker. This is actually Luke Skywalker. Basically, I mean, he looks like a Terminator, like a hybrid between like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Predator and He-Man. like he doesn't look, even here, he doesn't really look like Mark Hamill. It's just bizarre to me. But anyways, the Toths are finally defeated. Lumaya is perceived as dead at this point. The Toths and the Nagai are done, and basically we're wrapping everything up in this issue. It ends very abruptly. This issue ends very abruptly, very quickly. Again, I think it's because, it's the last issue, I guess we should try and figure it out. Like, it just ends with like Luke's like, I know we can have peace, and this is it. This is the last panel until 108. Like I said, it wasn't a Return of the Jedi kind of ending where it wraps everything up, and it's this awesome ending where you're just like, here are the characters, there's 3 of the characters we've been with for 6 films, and then here's the characters we've been with for these 3, and, it's just where it ties it all up in the bow. It's kind of an anticlimactic ending, actually. No one really seemed to care, at least at Marvel, no one really seemed to care how this all wrapped up. But again, that makes sense because at this point, again, we're really entering into, especially at the end of this, I think this is truly where we're entering into the dark ages of the Star Wars franchise. It is a, kind of the end of an era. Marvel's letting the rights go. They're letting it go. We've said that Droids is done. Ewoks is getting ready to be finished. There's really only a few more things here, folks, before we get into the 90s. We already talked about West End Games. So it is kind of the end of an era. I just wish that it didn't end this way, at least at the time. But now, thankfully, to 108, we have a better conclusion to this, which we'll talk about probably years from now. But yeah, it's just sad. Very few people seem to care, and very few people just seem to put any effort forward in really wrapping this up with the art, with the storytelling, with everything. Now, here's the other thing here that I think is, I think a great addition to this era of the Marvel comic books and their storytelling. Now, if you people don't own this already, I'd highly recommend picking up The Essential Guide to Warfare by Jason Fry. This is one of the best Star Wars guides that I have ever read. And I don't know, I know there are some people that have talked about Star Wars guides. I'm debating on whether I want to do one or not. But I'll just say it now. If I do decide to do it, this will be on as a essential guide. This is a fantastic guide. It has so much great things in here. And but one of the awesome things about it that I remember really liking when I read it was Jason Fry gives a lot of context to the final story arc here. He gives a lot more information, and he kind of talks about it as the Forgotten War. You know, we have that in our culture where we kind of don't talk about certain wars. We talk about major ones, but then we don't talk about minor ones or ones that were less important in the grand scheme of things. And that's kind of how he deems it here in this guide, is that he actually basically says, look, it happened, but there was just so much stuff going on around this time that people don't really kind of talk about it. They kind of just skip over it and kind of think about other things. So it was one of those cool little Easter eggs there. So, So what are my final thoughts on the Marvel series at the end of the day? Well, folks, for the whole Marvel series, I actually enjoy it. Unfortunately, I think it kind of took a very hard left turn into subparville near the end. But it has some really cool ideas. It also has some dumb ideas. But for the most part, for me, the good outweighs the bad. So ultimately, here's the thing. Is issue 7 an essential read? Or 107 is it an essential read? Yeah, I would actually say it is. Even though it's not that great of a story, it does end the Nagai War and all that kind of thing. As for the whole Marvel series, I think that there are some parts of it that are very, very good. I think there are some parts of it that are not that great. Hopefully this series through the Marvel series has maybe encouraged or discouraged, I guess. Hopefully not. I would hope that even if I didn't like something, that you would still go and check it out, just because don't let me or anyone else here tell you what you should or should not read or should and should not think. Check it out. Make your own opinions. If you disagree with me, I know several of you have shared where you have disagreed or agreed in the comments, and I encourage that. Absolutely. Please let me know. But folks, that is the end of the Marvel series, and so we are going to be done with that for a long time before we get back to the recent issue, unfortunately. But with this, we have now begun, I believe, the true entrance into the Star Wars Dark Ages, and it will not hit its prime until after Star Wars 3D, which we will be talking about in episodes to come. So, folks, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next time with another episode of the Star Wars Library.